Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Marketing Optimist sandwich course. I always forget the name of that thing. I've been doing it God knows how many times, and I forget it every single time. So welcome to the Marketing Optimist sandwich course. Today we're going to be speaking to Jem Henderson, who is the from Tech Nation. I always get that wrong as well. So from Tech Nation, but I can never remember exactly.
Oh,
I know it was Tech North, and I really did prefer it when it was called Tech North. But there you go. That's progress for you.
mm-hmm.
So Jem looks after all the kind of entrepreneurial tech stuff in Yorkshire, if I'm correct. I've known Jem probably about 2 years now, I would have thought, through our involvement with Leeds Digital Festival and other different bits and pieces. Marketing Optimist is kind of on the periphery of tech. We're not really a tech company, but I really love it. So I like to kind of get involved and stick my nose in wherever I can. So that's kind of where I know Jem from. So over to you, I guess, Jem, just if you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what Tech Nation are doing in Yorkshire.
Cool. So yeah, as you said, I'm Jem Henderson. My official job title is Entrepreneur Engagement Manager, and I cover the whole of the Yorkshire and the Humber. So that's everywhere from Sheffield to Scarborough to Hull. Although I'm based in Leeds and do a lot of stuff in Leeds. There's two parts for my job, essentially. So half of it is finding people for the Tech Nation programs that we run. We're actually on triple call out now, looking for sector specific companies in net zero, AI and fintech/insurtech. So we find companies across the whole of the UK, hence why we're Tech Nation and not just Tech North anymore. They're 6-month programs, they're accelerator programs, they're free because we're government funded, and it's a real opportunity for entrepreneurs to get together with other companies that are at the same level of them. So particularly the triple call out now, we're looking for companies around that Series A fundraising mark. So our programs are delivered by people that have been there and done that and got the t-shirt. It's not, a bunch of accountants coming in and talking about how they think you should scale your business, but actually it's, maybe for our fintech program, somebody from Monzo will come in and talk about how they scaled up. So it's really, the value is really in, finding out how somebody's actually done it and actually achieved it. So that's kind of half my job, is finding people for those programs that we do. And then the other half of my job is essentially what I like to call digital gossip. So that is me. It's what it is. It's basically me going out across the whole of Yorkshire, although not right now, obviously, and just chatting to everybody that's involved in tech, making sure that I know exactly what's going on everywhere. So, like, I know that in Northallerton, C4DI are going to be opening an agri-tech accelerator. So that means that when a company approaches me that might be right for that, I can then point them in that direction. So I've got kind of an ecosystem that's made up of investors, and I've got a really good working relationship with the local council, people like Eve Roothouse, really well connected with the Leeds Digital Festival, and just knowing folks, knowing what's going on, so that if anybody comes to me, I can say, you need to talk to that person. It's good. Yes, I mean, it's just been a gossip.
Everybody loves a bit of gossip, definitely for me.
Everyone loves a bit of gossip.
They do, don't they? Yeah, because it's funny how they just the certain people within the Leeds tech scene, and it's particularly in the Leeds tech scene, who just know what's going on. There's basically you and Stuart and a couple of other people who just always have their kind of finger on the pulse. And I know if I ever need to find kind of who's doing what, where, when, it's you guys who I always look to. Mm-hmm. So it must be a really interesting job. I just want to just kind of go back to some of the things you talked about that Tech Nation are looking for at the minute. And the one that threw me a little bit was net zero.
Oh, so
what on earth's net zero?
Net zero, it's the government initiative. We want to get the carbon footprint of this country down to nothing. And actually, it's a little bit of a it's not usually the kind of companies that we'd work for. In fact, we are looking for any company that is working on anything to do with reducing the carbon footprint. So like in Leeds, we've got companies like Hark, who are proper digital tech. They do some amazing stuff at kind of reducing the amount of energy that supermarkets are using. Mm-hmm. But then we've got a company called Sea Capture, who, it's all too technical for me. This is like bio stuff, like who do I can't remember. like something to do with capturing carbon using some chemical stuff. So it's like any company really that we're looking for right now. If you're doing something to reduce carbon in the UK, then apply for the program, basically.
Excellent. Yeah, because it's now you explain net zero, I get it, but from just you saying net zero, I was like,
it's so easy.
Because obviously it's technician, net starts sounding like it's something to do with the internet or .NET programming or whatever. But
no, I think
that
it's so
makes
easy
sense.
to forget that jargon. Like I was talking to my partner the other day, and I was just going on about corporate innovation and blah blah blah, and he just looked at me and was like, "You have no idea what you're saying."
Yeah.
I think it's easy to forget that not everybody's techie. I think it's funny for me because I kind of have a foot in creative. Obviously, look at me, ridiculous, and I have a foot in tech. Like I'm not a techie, I can't code or anything like that, but I do know stuff about tech.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to remember, pitch it where the audience is at, right?
Yeah. I mean, and that's one of the key things, I think, because obviously I'm a bit of a tech geek, and I love gadgets and new things and working out what's up and coming and getting quite excited about it. But then, like you say, when I talk to my wife about it, and she'll go, I don't know what on earth does that mean? What are you bothering on about? And I think it is that thing of if we want to kind of build tech into more mainstream things, it does need the jargon taken, de-geeking a little bit, because for the geeks it's dead easy to get really, really excited about it. But then it's not until the general public starts to see the benefits of that, or can kind of see through that without needing to have a degree in astrophysics or whatever it is, to understand the benefit of what these businesses are doing, or what the developments can and might be.
Well, actually, in my last role, a Digital Catapult, I sat between kind of government and academics and the general public and entrepreneurs, and my role was essentially a form of translator. So I would take academic articles on the Internet of Things and I would turn them into infographics, so we could send it out and people would get it and could start talking about, well, how do I keep my device safe, but without the Oxford University jargon. And it was really helpful for me actually to kind of start to figure out, well, how do I communicate these awesome things that are happening in tech to everyone? Because like you say, we're not going to see, I think lockdown has meant, or I've certainly read, it's brought on the business world by years and years and years, because we've all been forced into being digital and being online and having all of these video calls and conferences and stuff. So we were kind of forced into accepting this new digital world. That this isn't going to go on forever. How do we ensure that this uptake of tech is continued and we can start really progressing to where Star Trek promises?
That'd be brilliant. Because we can have the teleport thing. That'd be amazing.
Just the replicators. So I could just replicate myself a cup of tea instead of having to get up and make one every 5 minutes. That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be nice. But I think you're right about the effect of lockdown. I think has accelerated things massively. I mean, my mum's now using me. My mum's nearly 80, and we'd never done a kind of even a FaceTime before. But suddenly my mum's doing FaceTime and people are doing Zooms everywhere.
She got a snazzy background.
She's not quite got the snazzy background yet. I've still got a one step at a time. But the fact that we're now doing Zoom calls, so she can see the kids and she can chat and we can update people face to face. That would have taken years and years and years just to kind of embed. But because we were all forced into this thing, it's sort of like, well, how on earth am I going to speak to somebody I can't even physically go and see? And they just got it, just because this technology is kind of around now. It's just a lot simpler.
Yeah.
Which has to be a good thing. It's just a shame that we had to be almost forced into it, which I think is a bit of a downside.
But I do it's an education issue, isn't it? So we can sit and talk about gadgets and 5G and all this AI and all this other stuff, but if you're a hairdresser in Bramley, what the chuff do you care about artificial intelligence for? Like, it's just not important, right?
Yeah.
That isn't denigrating hairdressers in Bramley.
No. before they all ring in and go, in Bramley we're very tech savvy, thank you very much.
But let's face it, I mean, hairdressers must be on off their feet at the minute. Woo! I actually did my own, so I'm fine.
Well, you're right, but even hairdressers have had to suddenly jump on a little bit of tech, because now
Yeah,
now
and there's
they need.
actually, I think Leeds City Council has done some really good stuff, and they've got some really good stuff in the pipeline around. I think it's the Digital Enterprise Fund, which is about, you know, allowing people to take advantage of this new jump to, well, it's not even a jump, it's a leap. I can't even think of how big the word is, to digital, so that they can start to, you know, really access the services, whether it's, you know, having a website, learning how to do social media properly, like, because there's all this stuff that people kind of need to do now. You need to have a digital shop front, which is just as effective. I mean, you can't cut somebody's hair through the internet. Maybe you can.
Not yet.
YouTube videos of how to do it. I know I watched a few before I did mine.
Yeah, I mean, it's just simple things like them taking bookings, because like my hairdresser that I use is it's a place you just walk in, and that's basically it. They just take cash, and then if you really want a receipt,
they write down.
If you really want a receipt, they'll write in a bit of paper. Where you can't hand bits of paper around anymore, and you can't just walk in. So we now need to book, and so they've got to go. I've got to manage all my bookings, and it sounds like a really simple thing. We've been doing it all the time, but when you're a hairdresser, it's I've got to get my head around this. I've got to have a facility to do it, be able to manage the bookings, get people in and out and time. And it's funny how it's pushed people forward. You were talking about as technician and about your previous role, where you kind of sit between entrepreneurs and normal and the general public, and kind of government and that kind of level. I've always found it's quite tricky to get. The government always makes really nice proclamations and says, oh yeah, this money's available, that money's available. I always find it really, really tricky to kind of actually get to the bottom of that and kind of go, okay, so this money's available, well, what can I do with it? Or this scheme's available, how can I get hold of that? How do you find that? Obviously you're sat a lot closer to it than I am.
So I've got quite a good relationship with the Cabinet Office. They send me regular emails so I can, you know, updating, you know, this is what was said at the daily briefing. This is what that actually means. This is the guidance about it. I mean, there were some genuine concerns, I think, with some of the stuff that the government put out in terms of help for tech businesses. So I was on a call with a bunch of folks from across the different sectors in Leeds, and we were talking about Future Fund, because there was a concern when that announcement came out that Future Fund was going to be basically just capable of helping London companies, and maybe there'll be like 2 or 3 companies in Yorkshire that might feel the benefit. But actually, when they released the data, it looked like there was a really good regional spread, and I think there were 6 companies in Yorkshire that got helped by Future Fund to the tune of a few million quid. Wow. which was excellent, because, you know, stuff like that is the lifeblood of business. Saying that, I think in terms of how businesses have coped with lockdown and whatnot in Leeds, it feels like certainly a lot of the companies that I've spoken to, they've had to pivot in some cases. Some of it's been a bit of emergency. So I had an event as part of the Leeds Digital Festival, and Ravanth from Antonym was talking about how, so they produce kind of, they use AI to create new car parts for supercars and stuff like that, and their production factories were all in Wuhan. So suddenly, you know, boom, like that's it. So they've had to pivot, they've had to change everything. So it's been a real frightening time for some companies like that. But on the other hand, we've got other companies like Pan Intelligence. Once again, Zandra was on my panel, and she was talking about how actually the American market has just gone crazy, and, you know, they're working even harder. Same with Vet AI. They have an app which essentially does kind of pet care at home, and their app got to the #1 spot for health, even in COVID, like for animal care. And so, you know, they're run off their feet. I think because Leeds has got a really good digital health sector, a lot of businesses have had some almost benefit from lockdown, because they've been having to work harder, they've been having to do new stuff, they've been having to do new releases, and that has trickled out into the rest of the ecosystem. Whereas I don't necessarily think that all of our other ecosystems and other cities have perhaps had that and have done so well.
Cool, that's interesting. I was going to ask you about, So obviously you mentioned Pan Intelligence and Vet AI, who I'm aware of. Are there any other kind of big, are there any other kind of hidden companies that we really need to know about that are pulling trees up in Yorkshire?
Well, I mentioned Hark earlier. I know they're doing some amazing stuff when it comes to net zero. Obviously, the supermarkets have been, run off their feet. I still can't get a bloody delivery stop for Morrison's for 10 days. It's an absolute nightmare. So, their stuff, which is monitoring energy usage and making sure that that fridges aren't, one fridge in a supermarket might be broken and using too much energy, but when you put that across a whole estate of supermarkets and supply chain, then one in every store suddenly equates to saving 300 homes worth of energy in a month. So they're amazing. Who else? TPP, health tech company, absolutely. The online appointments, delivering, finding out about prescriptions, just being able to do loads of cool stuff. But I don't. What's hidden? I know all of these companies. I don't know what you don't know.
I guess that's kind of my point. Is, I mean, I say Hark I know a little bit about. TPP is completely new to me.
There you go. So actually, you probably use them though. Can you book can you book your appointment to see the doctor online?
You know what? You can't even book an appointment in my doctor in mine online.
Well, if you get a modern doctor in the 21st century, then you're probably going to be using their system to book your appointment.
It's great that there's so many of these things, and I think that's half the problem. Is I think a lot of the public just don't know that this exists, and also I think it's people coming up as well. So I guess I've got children of a range of ages, but one's left school and one's just about to leave school, and they're just kind of going, well, I don't know what to do, and school obviously gives them just.
Have you considered being a bin man or an estate agent?
Working in an office, being an accountant, and I was just like, but that's not a model. I mean, they don't even train them; they don't even get them ready to like enter any kind of workforce or anything.
It's a massive problem. I know that. So Women in Leeds Digital, and in fact, Tech Week Humber. I've been on the phone with folks from both of those organisations over the last week, and they've got a real focus on how do we educate school leavers, because teachers don't know about what data science looks like, and they don't know about what project management for a tech company looks like. They don't, if you say product manager to a teacher, once again, I feel like I'm generalizing. I don't like it, but they're not necessarily gonna. They're focused on teaching. They're focused on science and English and maths. They're not focused on what the next generation of jobs are going to be. And in fact, I think my little boy's 4, and by the time he leaves school, the job that he might have probably doesn't even exist yet, because we haven't. This technology is. We're just getting faster and faster and faster in our adoption of technology, and so are we going to be living in a world in? Don't want to work out how many years it is till I leave school, but in 15 years' time, are we going to be living in a world where virtual reality and augmented reality are just everyday normal things? And if that's the case, then we need to be thinking, a graphic designer in the future is going to be building something that people will be able to see in their glasses or in their contact lenses, or it's kind of crazy. So I think it's good that organizations like Wild and like Tech Week Humber and then Sheffield Digital Festival have got this focus on what's coming. Let's get a bunch of students in the room with a bunch of tech leaders and get them to talk about what it is that they're doing. There's another Game Republic, who are an organisation in Yorkshire. They've got a day coming up on the 14th of July, which is talking about getting young people into gaming, right? That should be we've got quite a good gaming cluster in Yorkshire. I know that Hull College has a really good game design course. We've got the National Video Game Museum in Sheffield. So there's loads of support. Game Republic often do an event as part of the Leeds International Festival, which is about getting young people into gaming. So let's start thinking about the jobs of tomorrow.
It's interesting because I talked to my son about that, who's just turned 16, and he had no idea. I mean, they're in Sheffield, and obviously that's a big gaming community down in Sheffield, and he had kind of no idea that was even a thing. He plays games obviously all the time because he's a teenager, That's what they do. But they don't.
I mean, Rufus
They,
is 4 and he is Minecraft obsessed.
yeah. But they don't necessarily make that leap between playing and, what do you mean I could get involved in this? And he's like, well, yeah, but I can't program things. It's like, yeah, but that's only one part of the process, or what you could get involved in. And the fact that it's sat just on his doorstep, because there are loads of really big companies in Sheffield in particular.
Yeah, like Sumo Digital and there's loads of stuff.
And Sheffield's always had a really long heritage of doing that as well. It's been weirdly Sheffield's. I used to have
Leeds, because Leeds has got Rockstar Games, who did Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, which is the biggest grossing game ever, or something ridiculous.
No doubt.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, does anyone else have a question or something they'd like to ask Jem, Chris, Sophie, or George? Ooh, stony silence. Come on, take yourself on mute and ask a question.
Hello.
Hiya.
So I guess one question would be something potentially for somebody who was curious about how they could get involved more. So the example we were talking about jobs for tech and things like that. Just on a personal level, I'm still very involved in music and tech in that particular field, particularly in recording. I'm spending a lot of money in that myself at the moment, and it is amazing how much things are coming along. And this isn't just like useless bits of tech that are going to be gone next year. I mean, like, it is changing astronomically, the industry, every day.
Oh, it's frozen.
So I guess the question would be, how is one to go, if you wanted to get involved in a particular area of technology, how is someone going to, open that up in their lives potentially, should they want that to be
I guess there's two parts to that. Is, do you want to be an entrepreneur? Like, if you want to build if you're a musician like you are, and you're like, right, well, I know that there's this piece of software that doesn't exist, and if that piece of software existed, it would be amazing. I would change the face of music forever. So stuff like that. Technician actually have a really cool little suite of courses as part of something called the Digital Business Academy. So that's a whole bunch of kind of bite-sized 20-minute courses that start with, do you have what it takes to be a tech entrepreneur? It goes through all the stuff like the marketing stuff and, how to build a brand, through to then how to build a board, how do I raise a Series A or a Series B. So I guess that's kind of, if it's the entrepreneurship piece, that's what you want to do, then there's that as a starting point. I think when it comes to getting into a job which has, where you want to go and work in music tech, I think one of the most important things for me to have realized in my own career is this notion of soft skills. So I read a post recently by a lady called Gemma Stowe, who talks a lot about introverts in the corporate world. Obviously I am not an introvert, but actually some of the stuff that she said was really, she wrote this post of the day, and it really resonated with me, because she was talking about how I think women in particular have this view of their skills which puts them down. So I've been doing a lot of work around anti-racism, for example, kind of in my own organization, in the Leeds Tech ecosystem. And when I was talking to my boss about this, I was just saying, well, that's just who I am, that's what I do. And she had to point out to me that, well, not everybody has those skills. Not everybody has the ability to communicate effectively with different kind of levels of people and different stakeholders, to have an open and honest and valuable conversation about that. So if you want to go into tech, but you don't feel that you've got the skill set, then maybe what you actually need to do is reassess and analyze what your skill set actually looks like. So for me as a single mum, if I can run a household, then I can definitely be a project manager, because there's so many moving parts to running my house and making sure the washing gets done and making sure my kid goes to bed on time and will put clothes on instead of running around naked for 5 hours. Like, if I can manage that, then I can definitely manage like a digital marketing project, for example. That's fine. That's easy. They go to bed, you put those down at 5 o'clock and they're in bed. So yeah, I hope that answered some of your questions.
Yeah. No, it did. Nice one.
Excellent. So George or Sophie, do you have anything you want to ask?
Not ask, no, it was just interesting, like thinking of how aware people are of the tech industry. Obviously, because a lot goes on there, and it was just interesting even hearing that like you hadn't heard of like TPP, for instance. Like I know that they are quite a big company, but yeah, it was just like, for me, I used to work for a managed services provider, so like things that you were saying were like flagging up for me, and it was like, oh yeah, of course, like I just picked up on what you were talking about. But when you're in a different industry, it does sort of go to the back of your mind. So watching things like this, it just sort of raises a bit more awareness of the bigger picture of what's going on and things happening differently in different
It's the
industries.
infrastructure, isn't it? It's the nuts and
Yeah,
bolts. You know, we talk about 5G, for example, and most people are like, well, what's that? Apart from, you know, the crazy people that think it was as COVID-19. You know, it's an enabling infrastructure. That's all. And it's good in a way that we don't have to think about these things, but because we're not thinking about these things, we're not, you know, perhaps telling young people, why don't you get a job as a, you know, some sort of engineer or working in tech and doing the hardware side of it. But yeah, like if you don't think about it. However, I do think that the government have come out with this line, I think, which is around a tech-led or digital-led recovery from the upcoming recession that I think we're all very aware that we're facing. And you know, maybe that means that people are going to know more about tech and are going to know more about digital and the stuff that is there for people to take advantage of. I also think that the government's new initiative for people under the age of 25, so it's 25 hours a week, the government will pay for somebody to go and work for a company if they're under 25 for 6 months. The tech industry could really get its arms around that if it wanted, and use that as an opportunity to start training up the people for these jobs of tomorrow. You know, we don't want companies, well, it's fine, you know, retail and hospitality are vital, and you know, the reason that the recession's coming is because these sectors are going to really collapse. So hopefully we can, you know, start to shift our economy away from the high street, which, you know, it was happening anyway. You know, I'm from Harrogate, and the occupancy in Harrogate in terms of shops was already down. It's going to be more down. What should these people be doing? What jobs should they have? There's an opportunity now to say, well, okay, but if you don't have a high street store, you need to have an online store. So let's train up the people to build the online store, to work in e-commerce, to work in digital marketing. Yeah,
all like molds together in a way, doesn't it? Like a team effort.
I think that's a key thing. Is that the high street has been. We all know the high street's been declining for a long time because it's all set on this old model. This old model was this: you have a massive shop that sells everything, and you get people to come in and do the shopping. And they kind of, for a lot of the time, I think a lot of the traditional stores have kind of done that thing of, oh, well, the internet's not happening, it's not happening, and they just could ignored it. COVID has come and gone. Actually, no, we can all sell online.
I read a stat this week which said that the online sales for April were the same sales that they would normally have in November. So when everybody's doing their Christmas shopping, there has been a radical shift. That's it. I don't think it's going to go back, not unless the high street really gets to grips with the future and says, well, what do people want? If people go into town, if people go to the shops, they want to have an experience. It's not just about, I don't know, just going and picking up something in a shop and then leaving again. They want something. You know, maybe this is where stuff like augmented reality comes in, where, you know, you can try on clothes in a shop and change your hair, and I don't know, the future. I'm too
you don't need that you don't need virtual reality. You change your hair every week, it would seem.
I have changed my hair nearly every week in lockdown. You missed rainbow. Like I did rainbow for Pride, and
don't miss Rainbow Week, sorry. So we've had a little note coming from George. So George says, mindset's very important in every industry, and if you want to become special, you need to think out of the box. If you want to become a leader, let's say, that's what Jem did so far, is what she said. Also to take risks and also be lucky most of the time. I think, George, you're right. There's a huge amount of luck sometimes in being at the right place at the right time. But then, having said that, you also need to engineer that look a little bit as well. If you're just sat around doing nothing, then you're not going to be in the right place at the right time. So I think that's very pertinent. Okay, well,
I can definitely like buy into the look piece. I had a co-working space last year. It all went horribly wrong, unfortunately. But I tell you what, I'm glad I don't have a co-working space right now, because that just sounds terrifying. Yeah. But it felt unlucky at the time, but
but in hindsight, yes, I remember talking to you about that a little bit. It did sound like that was a real struggle. But I'm sat in a co-working space at the moment, and there are people coming in. I know it's not nowhere near as much as it was, but people are still coming in. I think through the lockdown, it's starting to have a bit of a mold. I mean, apart from anything else, I just needed to get out of the house because it drives me crazy. I can't work remotely all the time. It's just not. It's just insane. Coming in and sitting in the bedroom every day.
I just want to see folks.
Yeah, it's nice to
elbows with them instead of shaking their hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I went to a client meeting this morning, and there were no shaking hands, and everyone was a nice distance away. But it was nice to physically see people. Made a lovely change.
My colleague in Northern Ireland said he went to a meeting last week, and everybody bowed.
Wow. Okay. That's a little bit formal. I don't quite got that.
Maybe that's what I'll start doing. Not curtsying, obviously. That's definitely not bowing.
No. I was thinking. I don't know if you can see my hand. I was going to go for the Vulcan.
Honestly, I can't do that properly. It hurts my hand.
Can you not do that? Oh no, that's
fine.
It's fine. Yeah, exactly. If you're a Trekkie, you've got to be able to do that. That's straightforward. Lovely. Okay, so I think we'll wrap up unless anyone's got any further questions for Jem. No.
It's nice to see you all. I will see you in Wizoo at some point.
Yes, you will. It'll be lovely when we can all get back together again and have kind of a proper, like a real
beer.
Chat with a beer. Yeah, a beer would be nice. A couple of beers and maybe some food as well. That'll be ace.
Yes.
So thank you very much, Jem, and
thanks for having me.
Everyone else for being on the call. And we'll get this up on YouTube pretty soon, and we'll see you all again very shortly.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye. Bye.
Yeah.